Hey guys, it's Joseph from healthyveganlife.com and I'm all moved now. Sorry, there's a fly in my room. I'm all moved now so I can make videos again, yay! Someone suggested in my YouTube comments that I make a video about why I went vegan. So that is what I'm going to do today because your wish is my command. Not really. But if you have an idea for a video you'd like to see me make, then by all means leave me a comment on YouTube or message me on Facebook or something and I might do it. Today's video will have 5 segments to it. First, I'll talk about how I used to eat. Secondly, I'll talk about why I changed the way I ate to a vegan diet. Then thirdly, I'll talk about what my transition was like. Fourthly, I'll talk about changes I made within my vegan diet, and then fifth of all, I'll talk about how I eat now and what my view on all of it is now. So something you need to know about me is that I've always loved food. I've always been crazy about food. When I went shopping, the first aisle in the grocery shop that I used to be in would be the crisps aisle and the sweets, candy and chocolate aisle, because that was just the kind of stuff that I really liked, that made me feel happy. Whenever I went somewhere with friends, I would be the one to suggest, oh hey, let's go to McDonald's, oh hey, let's get a swirls, you know. So yeah, that's me. Typical day of me eating before I went vegan looked kind of like this. I would have breakfast with granola with yogurt. Every day I had like sugary granola from like Quakers, I think, the raisin one, and I just loved it because it had a bit of coconut in it and it was just delicious. So I would have a big bowl of that with yogurt. Then as a snack I would have some kind of whole grain cookies or crackers with cheese or a sandwich. And then for lunch I would have like, how many slices would I have? I think about 3 slices of bread with like meat pate or cheese spread. What else did I put on there? Did I put appelstroop? Like apple. In Holland we have something we call appelstroop. I'll put a little picture so you can see what the hell that is. I think I put that on my sandwiches as well. And then as a snack in the afternoon I would come home hungry from school or from university and I would have like some kind of candy or crisps and like a sandwich again, or maybe a cracker or a chocolate bar. And then later, a couple hours later, I would have a couple of pieces of fruit because my mom made me do that. And then for dinner I would have most evenings boiled potatoes with boiled vegetables and a small piece of meat of some kind of fish. And then I would have some kind of custard or like sugary yogurt, like dessert type thing. With the way I look at food now, I don't think that this is very healthy. I mean, there were some healthy things in there, but you know, there was quite a bit of dairy and obviously meat and obviously just a lot of crap, just junk food in there. Even though my mom tried to raise us eating healthily. I do remember at one point having a conversation with my mom, telling her that I really didn't want to be eating meat because I loved animals and I didn't want them killed. And then she said, oh well, you can go vegetarian then, but you do have to eat more vegetables to get enough protein. At least she knew that plants have protein. But yeah, I hated vegetables so much that the idea of having to eat more of them to go vegetarian no. And I remember the first time I ever heard about veganism was when I was talking with my aunt and cousin when I was staying with them one summer about vegetarianism, and then my aunt mentioned that there was even another thing called veganism where people would eat nothing at all of an animal. And I remember thinking and saying, well, that's just so extreme. Why would you not want to eat anything from any animal at all? It's not like a cow is bothered by us drinking its milk. It needs to get rid of its milk anyway. So clearly I had no idea what I was talking about. And also, I've come a long way since. And I was like 10 years old at this point, I think. Maybe a bit older, maybe like 12, something like that. So why the heck did I go vegan? I was lean, I was pretty healthy, you know, I had some little ailments here and there, but I was, you know, pretty healthy overall. But I did feel like I wanted to find a way of eating that would keep me lean and healthy throughout life, because I saw people around me that would age, they would get bigger and bigger, and they would say to me, oh yeah, you're skinny now, but wait until you're older, then it's not so easy anymore. And people were getting cancer left and right, and it was just very scary to me, because I was like, well, I don't want to get cancer, obviously. Is there really nothing I can do about this? It was just like waiting for your fate. I mean, 1 in 3 Dutch people get cancer. That's pretty freaking scary, if you ask me. So yes, I started researching a healthy way of eating to keep you lean and healthy. So I found the book Skinny Bitch. I have it right here. This one. I found it and I started YouTubing the authors of this book. And I found an interview of one of the authors with Tim Van Orden, and they were talking about how he ate a raw diet, and I was like, what, you eat raw? What the bloody hell? And so I started researching that, and then I found all these people that were advocating a raw vegan diet, and they were all talking about all these amazing health benefits, how they had reversed cancer and heart disease and acne and all these horrible issues. And how they had lots of mental clarity, how they were emotionally more stable, just a whole bunch of amazing stuff. And I just felt so inspired. I was like, I want to do this too. It makes sense. Why would we have to cook our food when no creature in the world cooks its food besides us? It makes no sense. So I got pretty into it, and within a couple of weeks I started eating this by myself. What was the transition like? I started eating raw, and I was eating a lot of fruit, but also a lot of dried nuts. I mean a lot of nuts and dried fruits. And I was making like bars with them, and I was eating... I didn't really know what to eat. That was the problem. I did not really know what to eat. I was making salads that I didn't really enjoy, but I was just trying to make the most of it, basically. And I just remember that I just had to relearn food. I just had to, you know, because when you eat a certain way, you know the dishes that you could make, and you always have an idea in your head of what you could eat. But I had to just completely rethink it, and I was going on like raw vegan forums a lot, which inspired me, and I was like making these cookies and whatnot. And I had this one book that was like heavily nut based. I was making like these raw marinara sauces. I remember just every time I made something like that, I was just feeling very disappointed with it. It was just not as delicious as I'd hoped, as I remember food tasting before I went raw. So yeah, it was a struggle. And I did eat cheese a couple times that first year, because I started eating this way in like February 4 years ago. So that's like February 2010. I started eating that way. So and like I was eating some cheese here and there, and I remember finding it difficult when I joined a students' union in September. After that, I was afraid to tell people that I was vegan. I was like, oh, it's so extreme. I can't do that. I mean, we were supposed to have dinner like once a month or once every 3 weeks with a whole group. I was like, oh man, vegan, that's just too much. I was afraid. I was a coward, and so I said that I was vegetarian instead. And I figured, well, you know, if I have a bit of cheese every 3 weeks, it's not going to be too horrible, I hope. Because obviously at that time I was vegan for health reasons, not so much for the animals. I mean, I was very happy to be saving animals. I did feel a deeper connection to animals by not eating them. But I was mainly focused on the health aspect of it. And I didn't really quite know at that time how much animals suffer when we eat cheese. obviously otherwise I would not have said that I was vegetarian, and I wouldn't have been okay with eating cheese here and there. But I did finally stop cheese in like November, I think. I decided that I really did not want to have cheese anymore, because I found out that every time that I would get a cold or the flu that year, it was after I'd had cheese, which was like 3 times or so that I got sick. And I hated being sick, so I was like, I have to stop eating this stuff, it's just bad for me. So I really made that commitment, and I stopped eating cheese. Another thing that I found difficult to give up was chocolate, especially white chocolate, because that was my favorite. It was the sweetest kind, and it was just creamy. I mean, everyone knows how delicious white chocolate is. So yeah, I did have that a couple times, but then I stopped eating that as well eventually. Health-wise, the transition was pretty okay. I did notice that I was having more energy. My hay fever was just gone from the first summer that I was vegan. And it had plagued me for a couple of summers. I would have, you know, very itchy eyes and runny nose, and it was unpleasant, but it was gone that first summer. I used to also have in the winter time like these weird dry spots on my arms and in my face, and that became less, definitely became less. And also, like I mentioned before, which is more kind of a woo-woo kind of thing, but I just felt more connected to animals. I felt like more love for them, more empathy and compassion. I can't explain it. It was just what happened to me. I really noticed it. Maybe it was just the cognitive dissonance being gone because I didn't eat them anymore, you know, but yeah, that was something else that I noticed. I did change some things in my vegan diet. It was like a whole journey. I started off eating raw with pretty high amount of nuts, and I was eating olive oil and stuff like that, but I kept reading everywhere that I had to read the 80-10-10 diet, so I did. Where do I have it? Yeah. This book by Dr. Douglas Graham, and it was all about eating raw foods based on eating mainly fruit during the day, and then having a big fat salad. Well, not fat at all, that's the whole point. It was a low-fat diet, focused heavily on fruits, and then a whole bunch of greens in the evening. And by the time I read that, that was the first summer that I was vegan. I'd already stopped eating completely raw because I felt restricted, and I was just a bit like, I'm just sick of it, basically. But yeah, I read this book in the summer, and I was just very, very inspired, and I was really convinced that this diet was the human, just the way that humans were supposed to be eating. It made sense physiologically, and in a whole bunch of ways it made a whole lot of sense to me. From that point on, I did stop eating so much fat, and I started keeping it more low fat. I was eating a lot of raw foods, mainly fruits during the day, but I was still eating my potatoes in the evening, and some other cooked foods, because I just couldn't enjoy the salads. I remember making this one salad dressing from this book with strawberries and bell peppers, and that was it. And I just had to blend that together, and I was already a bit in doubt when I was making it, but I was like, oh, he says that it's good, so it's probably good. So I put that over my salad, and halfway through I was so nauseous. I hated it, and I was just horrible. Couldn't enjoy my salad that way. So yeah, I was eating mostly raw, but still also cooked foods. But I did feel for a long time very guilty about it, because I was like, well, it's not the perfect way to eat, and you know, I want to just do what's best for my body, and I want to, you know, go into my old age looking like I'm 20, you know. But at the same time, I knew it wasn't working for me, so I didn't go entirely raw. But slowly but certainly I started eating more and more cooked foods, because I felt every time after I'd had a fruity lunch, like a big fruity smoothie, I would just crave salty foods. So I ate more bread, and I started eating more like spreads and vegan, like cookies, as long as it was vegan basically. I was eating more, I wouldn't say junk food, because it wasn't like horrible food, but it wasn't, you know, they weren't exactly whole foods. But then finally, thank God, I discovered the whole like vegan doctor squad. I discovered the China study and the recommendations that were done in that book. I found out about Dr. Neil Barnard, Dr. John McDougall, etc. All those doctors, you know them probably. So I discovered that there was a whole bunch of doctors that were encouraging this diet that was just based on whole foods, that was low in fat, just like the 80-10-10 diet, low in fat, but also was made up primarily of cooked foods. And they were talking about how people were getting healthy on these diets, how people were being lean on these diets, how many cultures, Dr. John McDougall especially, he talks about this, how many most successful cultures all around the world were living on starch-based, so cooked vegan diets. And this was just such a relief for me because I discovered that you can still be incredibly healthy eating cooked foods. And I felt like I didn't need to feel guilty anymore for not eating completely raw. So I cut out the vegan cookies and I was making sure again that I was really keeping it low fat because I was eating these like fatty, like vegan spreads on my bread, which were obviously delicious but very fatty. Last December I did the starch solution course by Dr. John McDougall and I learned more in detail about a starch-based diet, and I'm now hoping to help other people eat this way as well because it's a very amazing way to keep healthy and to keep slim, but it's also much more doable than a raw food diet, as well as more affordable, as well as much better doable socially. So yeah, I'm pretty passionate about it. I feel pretty amazing this way. Right now, the way that I'm eating is I'm just having a fruit smoothie in the morning because I really love those. It makes me feel awesome. And then the rest of the day I eat mostly starches. I mean, some fruits here and there, but mostly starches. And I feel great eating that way. And I feel not so restricted and very happy. So I hope you guys found this video interesting or helpful. Or inspiring. I'm sorry if it's a bit longer than my usual videos. Yeah, make sure to hit the like button if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel for more of me talking about healthy vegan eating. Make sure to check out my recipe ebook as well. It has a ton of delicious low-fat, vegan, whole food-based recipes that are easy to make, that you can enjoy family. Yeah, have a great weekend and I'll see you guys next week. Bye! There's a fly in my room. Oh, I hate that sound. Oh, it's so obnoxious. No, that's not where the window is. It's right there. It's open. You can just see the light coming in from it. You can feel the breeze. My voice is just going. I'm just chatting so much. Good grief.